would have picked up. But...
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Seuninscience. I'm Shaun and I'm in science. Okay, so I want to continue with the series sharing my university experience, and in this video I will be touching on my third and my fourth year of university. So in the previous video I mentioned that second year of uni was the pivotal year where I changed from wanting to have a career in medicine to actually switching to wanting to work in the research and development field. And this was mainly because in the summer of my second year I had my lab placements. I got really intrigued by working there and I wanted to explore more of what this was about. Now at King's, before we break up for the year, you choose your modules for the year to come. And before I had done my lab placement, I had actually already chosen my modules, and I had chosen one of the biggest modules to be a literature-based module where you're gonna be in a lab, but it's kind of all manufactured, so the results that you would get are stuff they already know, and it's not very independent compared to an extended research project. So because of my lab placement during summer, I was inspired, and hence I changed my module to doing an extended research project, and that became one of the biggest module in my third year, as well as other core modules that I picked, which will be shown on the screen. Yeah. One thing I loved about third year, and one thing I loved about the last 2 years of my university, was that my social life increased. But that was mainly because with every year you're choosing more and more core modules, so you're seeing less and less people. You're seeing people who are actually doing the degree that you're also doing, and you're interacting with them a lot more than you would have in the first year or in the second year. So I really loved and appreciated that. The modules were a lot more intimate compared to first year, for example, because you're not interacting with those that are actually doing the degree that you are doing also. And I remember there was a lot of coursework and a lot of group work that we had to do, mainly for presentations. So I know for one of the modules, I think it was biology of cancer, we had to do a presentation. With that you had to do either individual presentations or group work presentations. Now one thing I would advise you, again I say this all the time, you need to identify the kind of person you are. Now, are you the kind of person in the group that will keep on top of it? Are you going to be a person who will read up the lecture materials or read up what needs to be done and come up with the presentation? Or are you going to be the kind of person that is lazy and just leeches off people? Don't be that person. I remember for one of my modules we had a presentation to give, and I had such a bad time because I was paired up with someone who was not pulling their weight. Don't do that. So in regards to the extended project that I did, we had two options. You could have either done the project in semester A or in semester B. I chose to do mine in semester A, and looking back on that, I am so glad that I did, because it allowed me time to give all my devotion and attention to the project and writing up the report and presenting it and kind of being done and dusted with that, and then having semester B for the other modules, as well as then for prepping for exams. I know of a few people who did their project in semester B, and they found it quite difficult to manage the deadlines because you had really tight turnaround. Number one, trying to write up the report in time and have it uploaded and submitted in time, as well as trying to manage your time for revising for exams, for end of year exams. So if I would give an advice, would be, if you are going to go for an extended research project, try to go for one that is as far away as possible to your exam period, so semester A rather than semester B. But I mean, if you think you're a superwoman, you can obviously go for semester B. It's your choice. Okay, so one last thing that I would say for third year was that exam was quite tough, because the exam structure was literally just essays and essays. So by third year, they're expecting you to be a lot more independent. They're expecting you to be reading a lot more papers, as well as, you know, reading up on lectures and the course materials. A lot more independence and actually reading out and seeing what is in the field. So with a lot of the exams, you had questions that would pose things that obviously was set in the lectures, but they're also expecting you to kind of bring your own flair and show that you have a view or a opinion about the questions that has been set. Right, so all in all, I really enjoyed third year. It was tough, the exams were tough, but I passed. I got a first class overall, but I decided that I wanted to really niche in on the whole idea of working in research and development, and that is why I ultimately decided to stay on another year. Now, so it wasn't only me that decided to do that. A few of the people on the course also went to extend, and within our cohort we then had to do like a mini application process. So we had like many interviews to discuss our reasons for wanting to extend, and then we had some criteria that we had to have passed through. So the first one being that you as a student are on set to graduate with either a first class or a 2-1, and then the module organizers see that you be capable of hacking or managing the last year, your master's year. So I went through this process and was then able to move on to do an integrated master's for my 4th year. Okay, just as a note, to give a bit of context, I had 2 main options. So I could have either graduated with my bachelor's degree and then apply separately for a master's to give me again the opportunity to still go to a lab and work in 2 labs, or I could, as I said, just stay on and have student finance cover the last year. For me, the deal breaker was the financing aspect, because if I was to graduate with a BSc and then reapply for a master's, that year would have been £10,000 compared to just staying on with the undergraduate degree as an integrated master's, which would be £9,000. So for me, that was a deal breaker. I knew that I would have wanted to do a master's regardless, because I wanted the extra experience and the opportunity to go into a different lab to see whether or not research was a right fit for me. So that would be an advice that I would give, is to do proper research on what the next step is and weigh up all the options and see which fits you better, which works for you more. So 4th year, this was my favorite year. I loved this year because first of all, it was very intimate cohort. There was about 19 of us, I think 12 on the genetics course and about 5 to 7 of us on the biochemistry course. So we all knew each other, and this was very beneficial because we were a great support system to each other. We had about 4 to 5 modules. The main one being the research project, which was a 6-month placement in a lab that we chose, and we had a module where we did a project design. So we wrote a grant, a BBSRC style grant, and we had a module where we learned about research skills and being in the lab, and it was really helpful, and I think it gave the starter pack for someone who wants to work in academia. So I would actually really recommend, if you are going to King's and you are doing something you are doing either biochemistry or genetics degree, to potentially stay on to do an integrated master's year. On the flip side, I know there are options for you to do an integrated year abroad or integrated year in industry. Those are also quite helpful. I think one thing I would definitely advise is that whilst you're at uni, although you can just go the straight route of just doing a 3-year course, I think it's actually quite helpful for you to kind of like rein it back and give yourself that year to either explore in a different industry or go into again the field that you're in, but just give yourself like 3 to 4 years in uni to really consolidate on the degree that you're doing and how that can impact your career and impact your career path also. So for my project, I spent many hours in the lab with the animal model that I was working with. and when it came up to writing, that was the hardest I have worked in my life. That was quite a challenging year. I know I said that 4th year was my best year, but I think it's because it really pushed me. It really pushed me to my limit, but it didn't break me. Hallelujah. 4th year was challenging, but it was great. It was challenging in a good way. It was a character building experience, and it really made me see how well I could thrive in the research and development field. Advice I would definitely leave for 4th year is by year 4 you should have developed quite key and fundamental skills such as organization skills, time management skills, because by then you are required to be quite independent and take reign of your own education. By the time I finished 4th year, I was truly and ready to graduate. I will be doing a video where I share my experience working in lab settings, so my placements in 2nd year, in 3rd year and in 4th year. If you would like to see that video, please leave a like, share, comment and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.